Today we're going to see about turning frozen pizza into something a little bit healthier as a cheat meal. Plus, I'm going to be talking about my travel hangover and the things that come after getting back home. So stay tuned. Let's get into this. I've had the oven preheating on 410 and the pizza pan preheating in the oven as well. So just a little tip there. If you preheat your pizza pan, it's less likely that the pizza is going to stick to it. See if we can get this open. All right. Everything fell to one side. This is what we're working with. It's a margarita wood-fired pizza. If I do get a frozen pizza for a cheat meal, I try not to get anything with meat because then with the pepperoni and the sausage, it adds so much extra sodium, and I don't need to be doing that. For two reasons: one, hypertension, and two, more sodium means more water retention. We don't need that either. All right, so I'm going to put this on the pan. Now the instructions for this pizza. Oh, this pizza actually needs a higher temperature. I don't know what I was thinking. All right, so we're going to let that heat up a little bit. I'm going to move the pizza off the stove top. We don't need it defrosting while we're waiting for the oven here. So let's just take a look at some of the nutritional information. So the pizza is considered 3 servings per container, which is about right because I slice it into 6 small slices. So that's 2 small slices is 1 serving. That's 330 calories, 2 grams of fiber, and 15 grams of protein. What I like to do is halfway through the cooking cycle. This one, it recommends 12 to 14 minutes, but I like my pizza crispy on the bottom. You know, are you a crispy on the bottom person? And I cook it maybe like 8 or 9 minutes. Then I add some things on the top like greens, extra fiber, extra nutrients, put it back in the oven for another 8 to 9 minutes. And that's how we're going to get like a quote unquote healthier version of a cheat meal. All right, so let me get this in the oven and then I'm going to catch up with you on the sofa. We're going to talk about travel hangover issues. Welcome to my channel where we discuss all things GLP-1 and health journey slash lifestyle adjustments, all while being on a very tight budget. So if you are new here, welcome. My name is Annie, and I talk about these things on a weekly basis, sometimes twice a week. We have some exciting stuff coming up next week, so be sure to like or subscribe if this is something that you want to follow. Now, in the meantime, last week I posted a video about my travels, and when I returned on last Sunday, the following morning, And pretty much for most of the week, I had what I would call a travel hangover. And this didn't have to do anything with alcohol. Um, I was in three different places for 3 nights, and it was a whirlwind. And as somebody who uses GLP-1, this also meant that I was not consuming like my regular diet, my regular foods. So there was, I think, a gut health adjustment after I returned. I had a little more like stomach discomfort after my return. Nothing major, but I don't usually have a lot of side effects from the GLP-1 that are gastrointestinal. And it felt good to get back to my regular foods. A lot of those foods were consumed with people that I have not seen in a very, very long time. It was great to reconnect and to have a different vibe, a different change of scenery. And there's a whole other thing about that too, because as an introvert, I don't get out and about very much. So those 3 days, there was a lot of peopling, and it took a lot out of me. Once I returned, I realized I was a little bit burnt out from that aspect. As wonderful as it was, I'm just not used to that. And so there was a little bit of adjustment to uh, taking care of myself and laying low for a few days after I returned, just so that I would be able to like recalibrate my nervous system. Oh, we have a beeper going off. So let's go see what we can do about making this cheat meal pizza a little more healthier. Okay, so this little pizza, so it's puffing up a little bit nice on one end. Whew, it's hot. I'm going to rotate it so when I put it back in, the other side is facing the back. My oven doesn't heat up quite evenly. You know, the joys of being a renter. All right, so one of the things I like to do with any type of like cheat meal is I take some blended super greens. This is kale, spinach, and baby chard. This was on sale for $3.50, this huge big tub. The pizza was on sale for $7.49. So for 3 meals for me, that's very economical. Let's open up these greens. All right, I'm gonna move you down a little bit here so you could see what we're doing. All right, so this margarita pizza, it has basil already on it, tomatoes, and a whole bunch of cheese. And I'm just going to take a whole bunch of these greens, break them up, toss them on here, cover the whole thing. Then I like to add a little extra spices, maybe some garlic powder, maybe some onion powder, oregano. It depends on what the base is. And with this one, since it already has basil, I don't think I'm going to add oregano, but I will add, whoops, some garlic powder because you can't have enough garlic. And I'll add some onion powder. Now, the reason I don't do the greens right at the start is because I don't want them like crispy. I just want them a little wilted. Okay, there's some onion powder. Oops, garlic powder. All right, we're gonna stick this back in the oven for another 8 or 9 minutes. All right, we're gonna put this back in the fridge. But before we do, let me just tell you there is no nutritional information on here. But I know it adds a bunch of fiber, a bunch of nutrients. I'm going to look those up. So when I make the card at the end that has all the nutritional information, that'll be added on there. All right. Let's go get comfy and finish talking about travel hangovers. One of the things about getting my gut health back in order also was working extra shifts after I returned because even though my out of pocket expenses were very, very low, um, there were still out of pocket expenses. And it was a total of about $65 that I spent on the whole trip. Yet I am also in a position of having to switch from insurance covered, branded Zepbound to a compounded tirzepatide, and that's coming up really quick. My last injection with the pen is going to be in a few days, and I'm going to go through that, and I'm going to go through what I may have found as an option. But needless to say, even though I only spent $65 out of pocket on this trip, it's $65 that I need to keep using a GLP-1 medication uh, to treat my obesity and my overall health. It does help with inflammation for me. And one of the things I also noticed on my travel hangover, so to speak, was a lot of inflammation when I came back. And I have a couple theories about that. One is the food. There was, some eating out, things I don't normally do. I cook most of everything I consume at home. So the sodium, also a lot more movement, a lot more walking than I normally have in my daily life. I work from home at a computer. Life is pretty sedentary except for what I, kind of squeeze in here and there. So I felt a lot of inflammation. My feet were swollen. I had back pain. I think a lot of that also was just due to the traveling. All right, our timer is going off. So let's go see about our healthier cheat meal in the oven. Oh, it's looking good. All right. So we have lots of greens on top of the tomatoes and the basil and the cheese. Let me get a plate for this. Whew, sliding right off. So you can see with that trick, preheat your pizza pan and it's less likely to stick. All right, so I'm gonna let this sit for a minute because I'm not a fan of like burning off the roof of my mouth with hot cheese pizza. Um, all right, let me talk to you for a minute. Okay, I know several of you also do a fair amount of traveling. So I would love to hear about your travel hangovers. For me, one of my biggest takeaways was I need to be moving my body more because the airports, the sightseeing, the visiting people, all the things. Uh, yeah, my body was a little bit like, what are we doing? What are your biggest suggestions for people who are traveling? I would love to know. And also, what do you do to make a cheat meal a little bit more healthier? Leave those in the comments. We'll see you soon. Take care. Bye.